of everything.
Firstly, thank you very much, Leon and COE, for giving me this opportunity to speak what I've got to speak about. Thank you very much, Leon. I appreciate it, bro. Right, this is for me to get up and speak here solo is a very big thing for me. I love debating and learning in Hyde Park Corner, like most of us do. But for me to get up and speak, it takes a lot for me to do it. But I feel I have to, and it was even proven to me even more I have to do it. Just walking to the park this morning, when I walked through Kensington Gardens, and I saw the little kids playing out there, and it just drives me to get what I believe is the truth out there even more for the little ones. It's not their fault. And what I plan to talk about today and let you know about is the Yogyakarta principles. Now, to many of you, the Yogyakarta principles may mean nothing at the moment, but at the end of this, it will mean a lot, and hopefully you'll get out there and try and change it, or at least enlighten people to what it's doing to society, and more important, to our children. Firstly, it is the developmentally inappropriate sexual education and fabricated gender ideology that the Yogyakartas are promoting throughout the world, basically. It's a UN initiative. The Yogyakarta principles initially were written in 2006 in Indonesia by intellectuals from the law, education, the LGBT community, to thrash out how LGBT rights and transgender and sexual orientation, how their rights related to international laws. So during this meeting, they wrote out a set of principles, good guidelines referring to immigration and so on. Where it becomes important and really relevant to children, and what I'm here to talk about, is the section on LGBT plus rights. And within that, it has a sexual education guidelines, and they plan to have this, I'll fast forward just so it keeps your attention, right? So basically, in the Yogyakarta guidelines, and they wish to implement it by year 2020, the ages 5 to 8, touching and rubbing one's genitals is called masturbation. So they believe, by their theory, ideology, sitting down and having a good talk about things, they've come up with this great idea that it's appropriate to teach 5 to 8 year olds touching and rubbing one's genitals is called masturbation. If you can't see it, we'll get Leon to sort out the links. Basically, this is from the Yogyakarta guidelines, and basically most learning objectives will attempt to change social norms. So I'm quoting literally from the guidelines principles. So that says it all. Social norms, that is a social norm. Teaching a child, if you were to tell me to put a man in a room with a bunch of children and talk about masturbation, I'd say he's a paedophile. We need to call the police urgently and get those children to a safe place. But the government, in all their wisdom, find it okay and all very cool and rainbowing to let teachers teach children masturbation at 5. I don't need to go any further, but learning objectives, level 3 to 12, non-penetrative sexual behaviours are without risk of unintended pregnancy and offer reduced risk of STDs, including HIV. So you're teaching 12-year-olds sexual behaviour. I personally, I'm old school. Maybe I'm too old-fashioned, I don't know. But I don't believe you should teach kids about sex until they're 15, 16. They don't need to know about it, okay? They're too busy learning about the world, society, how it really runs, about science, the birds and the bees, but not about sex, okay? And it's distorted sex as well. And then the other part of it, like I say, is the fabricated agendas. Gender is a word that was created in the 1960s, or even before that. Maybe it was Magnus Hirschfeld, I believe he was the first doctor, homosexual transvestite, who initiated the first sex change operations basically in 1930s Germany. And then it moved on to 1960s. And you had the Beaumont Society of London, cross-dressing transsexual men or transvestite men, who then became the transsexual movement of the 70s and the 80s, which later became the transsexual movement of 76 genders. So it's come from, hello mate, from nearly 100 years ago. You had Dr. Hirschfeld in Germany trying out sex change on human beings. Mostly humans were dying, and he was using goat's testicles to do this procedure. Some say that he was doing it to homosexual men at the time, they were trying to figure it out, and they say that this is them telling, this is in the research, that it was a possible cure for homosexuality, castrating a man or vice versa. Right, that's their business, that's their research at that time. Things have moved on a lot since then. Anyway, I digress. So we're into the 1960s, the sexual revolution, movements like this just to normalise sex even more to the youth. Then we move forward to the internet age of the 90s, when transgenderism really had a push forward, because the first, I believe it was the Bill of Transgender Rights was written, and then that later, 10 years later, it was the backbone of the Yogyakarta principles. So if you follow the history there, 1930s, transvestite Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld, that's what it was. It was basically homosexual men that dressed up as women. And then the dysphoria, gender dysphoria or sexual dysphoria, it is a condition, a mental condition, and people do need treatment for it, but they don't need to be told that it's normal, and society told to be that it's normal, because it's not. There's two sexes, biologically, male and female, and to tell children there's 76 sexes, or anyone 76 sexes, it's not right. Scientifically, medically, biologically, whatever you want to put it, and there's people a lot more educated and well informed than me that have literally spent their whole life researching this and talking about this, and I've just got a few snippets of their factual information, and I'm putting it out because it relates to the Yogyakarta principle. So where are we? Transgenderism, that's part of it, and gender fluidity and all this. This is, so when you teach a child at 5 years of age that masturbation is fine, bang, that is sexualising a child. Okay, so you're following me, that's sexualising a child. So then you put into the mix telling this child there's no male or female, there's just 70 odd genders to choose from. A 5 or 6 year old child, come on, they're going to be confused. You're trying to walk down the road and tell kids to figure out about this is a tree, that's a road, that's a bus, don't walk into the road, it might kill. There's a lot more important things that you shouldn't be confusing a child with 76 genders. Simple. And there's scientific proof to prove this. Like, I apologise for his name, but a very notable child psychologist said many years ago, children are like wet cement. Whatever you drop into it leaves an impression. That is so true. Yeah. So and I can give you case studies to this. So there's case studies of children in Brighton, I believe, a school, 40 odd kids, 70 kids in total, 40 have gone transgender or believe they're transgender because of the current guidelines that are out there and it being promoted everywhere that it's normal. And then the other 40 have gone gender fluid. I believe that means that one day they could feel they're a woman, or one day they're children, one day they feel they're a boy, one day they feel they're a girl. And the state is condoning this, accepting it, everyone's just putting out that this is the right teachings basically, and it's not. And these kids, impressionable children, are lapping it up, and it's proved itself when you've got nearly 80 kids in one school at once changing to allegedly a gender or genderless or this. It's scary. Then you put that into the mix, that kids are very impressionable when they could be false like this. Then you put into the mix, just recently, the centre that deals with gender identity issues in the UK, the Tavistock Centre in London, they've got a branch in Leeds. Just recently, many clinicians have left and are blowing the whistle saying that there's an open door policy, that children that come through the door now, they're just seen as transgender. They are transgender, that's it. There's no therapeutic route. It's just puberty blockers for a few years, then they go on to hormone blockers, based on a medical pathway. And this people say, oh, that's the way society's going, that's the way, oh, the rainbow, the pride gets bigger every year, and there's more and more little laws that come in, and more, it gets a bit more and more weird and a bit more, you know, that's because of the Yogyakarta principles. When you forensically analyse this, and you can see where our society's changed and changed, it doesn't just change like that. Parts of Africa haven't changed, Jamaica hasn't changed. I've got a video here where they're having marches, more people than us here in Speaker's Corner have gathered in Jamaica, a big march protesting about the filthy, nasty, sexually deviant teachings they plan to teach the children. And then on top of that, they plan to teach them about all these different fabricated agendas. Okay? And I'm not homophobic, I'm not transphobic, I love all humans. If you're a good human and you love humanity and love children, I love you back. But if you don't, we've got a problem, and we need to talk about it and stop you trying to corrupt children's minds with this disgusting, nasty stuff that they don't even need to know, if need to know at all, especially not have it rolled out in the education system. Okay? Society indoctrinated to feel this is human rights, basically. Very important, I apologise not to mention this. People conditioned to accept the unacceptable, right? So you won't be able to go to your Bible and say, this is what my Bible says, or this is what my Quran says, or this is how my mother or father has brought me up morally to believe that children shouldn't be taught this, or there is only two sexes. Yes, the Yogyakarta principles. Please research it. I've given you many fields to go down. So like I said, the Yogyakarta principles, the 2006, it led from the transgender human rights bill of the mid-90s. Then it was revised and put into a more formal, concise document with the Yogyakarta principles in 2006. 10 years later, you have the this is up to date now, this is where we're at now. The Yogyakarta plus 10. 2 years ago, 2000, they revised it. Remember, it's a fluid document, it's an open document, so they can revise it at any time. So it was revised 10 years ago, and that's when I believe they added the extra nasty stuff about teaching kids masturbation at 5 to 8 years of age. I don't need to go in, that's enough, you've heard enough. I don't need to go on the other details. And the rest of it, to prove that it's coming into effect, I believe last year, transgender laws in Scotland came into effect, and they used the Yogyakarta principles as best practice. So already around the world, governments and NGOs are going to the Yogyakarta principles as their go-to document for gender rights, human rights, LGBT rights. So you follow me, this is where they're going for, to get their legislation from. European, everyone. And also, it does state that teachers should take over the place as parents in teachings of sexual nature and LGBT relationships. So this is where it gets important, where we've got the facts relating to transgenderism and its rise over the last 15 to 20 years. Right, this is from Dr. I apologise, I'll get his name up, but it's Maloney, I believe. I'll get his name up later when we talk in the group. But basically, most gender dysphoria dissolves by 20. Yeah, 80% of gender dysphoria kids have resolution at 20, and they pass through as they pass through puberty. So basically, when you give a child hormone blockers, you're defeating the object of the exercise, because the child, as a psychiatrist, child psychologist says, most children, if they do suffer with gender dysphoria, and most of them don't, they argue most of them don't. If a girl plays football, climbs up a tree, or maybe likes wearing trousers, that doesn't mean she wants to be a man for the rest of her life. Tavistock Institute, okay? And if a boy wants to maybe wear a dress because his sister gets more love from his mum that day, and he thinks he wants to get more love, so he wears a dress, that doesn't mean he wants to be a woman for the rest of his life. Tavistock Institute, right? And that's not just me saying, plenty of people saying it, right? Intellectual, intelligent, knowledgeable people with many years of research in this field. I've been doing it part-time when I get home from work, doing my best to try and get the message out there for the kids and the general public. So right, we're out there with the facts and statistics, okay? Another facts and statistics what I thought was quite alarming. It's a mind-body mixed issue. So Tavistocks are working on the body before working on the mind. Nonsensical. You have to repair the body, you have to repair the mind before the body. Once you mutilate the body and the mind gets better by the time they're 18 or 9, whatever, as the research shows, it's too late. They'll be suicidal if hold on, I'm better. Why can't I go and have relations with a woman? Because you can't, because you've had hormone blockers from the Tavistock Institute since you were 6, and then they've chopped your genitalia off by the time you're 16. And by the time you're well again, because your mind is better now, it's too late. So please, do not go there. Do not go there, okay? I'm not being homophobic, I'm not being transphobic, I'm being a humanist. I'm protecting humans, I'm protecting kids. You might thank me for it in years to come, right? Please. Right, next one. Dr. Zucker, to use therapy first and not to start the medical therapy pathway, which is be a lifelong medical condition or medical path. No, Dr. Zucker researched him. He's been shut up like most doctors or people who like telling the truth in regards to anything that the establishment don't want you or them to say, okay? Brain not fully developed until around 25. Someone with autism, 29 upwards. So conventional medicine will wait until an informed decision can be made by the patient. This is not me, well, it's me saying it, but it's me relaying what doctors are saying, okay? Stop giving hormone replacement to women as it is shown to give breast cancer to 1 in 5 patients. Counselling for sexual dysphoria was abandoned in the 1950s by doctors who created trans movement. John Money, as I said earlier, not a good man, right? For anybody, for trans people, for kids, for humanity, okay? Treat the body like and the mind, like I said. Right, I think I've covered most of it. I'll be covering most of it when we hit the debate, and it'll be even better when we hit the debate. And what I want to touch on now, because I've touched on the history of the Yogyakarta principles, I've given cause and effect. The Brighton School, one cause and effect that's literally come up this week, and I'm glad I've mentioned it. I've given cause and effect how children's minds are being corrupted, manipulated with these perverted studies, okay, sponsored by the state. The next part, there's a gentleman in Canada at the moment. He's gone to a female waxing clinic to get his genitalia waxed. They say it's female only. He identifies as a female, but he hasn't had any transition. He just identifies as a female, and the Yogyakarta principles facilitates this and allows this, and the law allows this. So he's gone into the female only waxing parlour because they specialise in female genitalia. They can't do men's penis or balls. I wouldn't go there. I'd go to a male place to get the balls or sack and back, whatever they call it, right? So he's gone there basically to antagonise him, to be a prick. So he's gone in there, they say, mate, we can't do it, we might harm you, we don't specialise in it. He's taken them to court, put them out of business because they can't afford to represent themselves because it's his human rights, but he believes the state should force these women to touch his genitalia. You make your own conclusion. Who's right and who's wrong? Has he got more right, the state forcing these women to wax his genitalia when they don't want to, or has he got more right forcing these women to wax his genitalia when they don't want to? His name is Jessica Yanni, very current case in Canada. So that is where the Yogyakarta principles are actually affecting society with gender misuse issues, or transgender, misgendering I believe it's called. And it's all part of gender mainstreaming, right? I'm going into detail of all this. It's all in my little green book, as they say. I've spent many years researching. I do about many topics I do. I'm a fair guy, and all I want is truth and justice for the children. Right, that's all I want. Yeah, like the Yogyakarta principle says, I believe, Principle 37 of the Yogyakarta principles is truth. That's right up my street. Yogyakarta principles, give the kids truth. I'll give them the truth. I've spoken truth from the beginning to the end of this, right? And I can back up all my truth with this little green book and all the research I've done over the last few weeks to help get the message out and protect the children. If there's anything I ain't touched on, I'm sure we'll touch on it over the next few weeks, because I'm not going to stop shutting up about this until something happens and it changes. And just as a footnote is where this is going, like I told you, said before, you had Yogyakarta 2006, Yogyakarta 2017 or 16, 10 youth Yogyakarta plus 10. So I believe Yogyakarta plus 10 again, or whenever it is, or wherever they revise this fluid document, right, with their perverted views and distorted views on gender, okay, fabricated genders, okay, it'll be legalising or the push to legalise paedophilia. And I have proof in here where there's people that advocate paedophilia. There's a lady called Beyonce, and she's married to a geezer called Jay-Z, believe it or not. I don't know much about them because I don't do mainstream bullshit lies from these sort of people. But apparently she's got a sister called Solange. I don't lie, the book says it, the internet says it. Solange is an advocate for paedophiles. Yes, she likes paedophiles, advocates that paedophilia is all right. There's another one that I'm going to go to Amsterdam shortly soon with a film crew, and we're going to find her, and her name is Madeline von Bergen. She's a transsexual man who advocates paedophilia. You can look at her video. and you can tell them what you think of this human being, whatever they are, trans man, trans woman, or Mr. Blobby, whoever it is. You can't be telling me you advocate a 45, an adult man sodomising a child of whatever age, whether you call it this, that, whatever. In America they call it minor attracted person, and they try and soften it up even more by saying a non-offending minor attracted person. So that's saying basically I'm a nonce, I'm a paedophile, or I'm a minor attracted person, but I'm a non-minor attracted person, so I like fiddling with kids and I'm attracted to them, so I walk about here, but I won't do it. I'll just look at them and think, oh, I want to sodomise that child. How does that work? That's like me saying I'm a murderer, I'm a psychopath. I'll get pleasure out of killing people, but I'm a no-offending psychopath. I want to kill Leon, right? Hypothetically, don't worry, Leon, I love you to death, bro. But if I want to kill Leon, and I say, right, no, I don't because I'm a non-affecting. Do you get how nonsensical it is? You can't have paedophiles walking around being called non-offending, minor attracted people. It don't work like that. Not in my world, and in most sane people's world who wants to protect the children. And I apologise if I get irate. I'll try to keep it nice and spiritual and calm, so I do want to spread the love. I've gone to spiritual church, and I do spread the love. But if you want to harm children and lie to children, as the Yogyakarta principles say, item 37, the truth. And I'm going to tell the truth to the day I die, and I want everyone to hear it. And if anyone wants to debate me later, we'll be in Mr. IC3's circle, and I appreciate Mr. IC3 and the lovely Leon for getting all the word out there. Thank you again, brother. And we'll be speaking again very soon. And if there's anything anyone wants to know, put it in the comments and we'll get there. Much love and support to the world and to COE. Thanks again. Thank you.
Come take over everything from your melanin. Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Malcolm X is one of them. If you act, dress, and work amongst white people, you're a sellout. Now, this thinking is an obstacle to democracy, if you think about it. Because, well, that's my point. So it's you raise a good point. Historically, it made people